Okay, you can begin.
Good morning, sir, and fellow classmates. Today's lecture will be based on Chapter 7, Interacting in Groups and Teams, and presented by Mr. Darren Grant and Mr. Angelito Gonzalez. Next slide, please. This chapter examines the characteristics of groups, how they form, and the dynamics among group members in order to underline how process-oriented leadership is in groups. The relational leadership model is applied in this chapter, as well as principles of cooperation and collaboration in group work. Next slide, please. Can anybody tell me what is a group? The definition of a group? Anyone?
Would it be two or more individuals coming together for a common purpose?
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's look at a couple of definitions. According to Stephen Robbins, a group is defined as two or more individuals interacting and interdependent who have come together to achieve a particular objective. It can also be defined as two or more humans who interact with one another, accept expectations and obligations as members of the group, and share a common identity. Characteristics shared by members of the group may include interests, this thing in front of the whole thing, social backgrounds, and or kinship. Next slide, please. What about a team? Can anybody tell me what a team is? Okay, let's look at two definitions. Parker defines a team as a group of people with a high degree of interdependence, geared towards the achievement of a goal or the completion of a task. Quinn defines a team as an enthusiastic set of competent people who have clearly defined roles associated in a common activity, working cohesively in trusting relationships and exercising personal discipline and making individual sacrifice for the good of the team. Now, as you can see, there is some overlap between the two, which indicates that all teams can be considered groups. However, it will be wrong to say that all groups are teams. Cotter and Cohen observe that a powerful group has two characteristics. It is made up of the right people and it demonstrates teamwork. Teams are, however, one kind of group, which support what was just said. Hughes, Jeanette, and Corfey distinguish between groups and teams, noting that although both have the characteristic of mutual interaction and reciprocal influence, teams have a stronger sense of identity and common goals or tasks. In addition, task independence is higher within a team than in a group, and team members usually have more distinct roles than group members. There is also collectiveness, team synergy, as opposed to the individualistic nature of groups. Let's take two simple examples. Passengers on a plane. They are all on the same plane, though they may have different reasons for being on that flight. Some may be traveling for vacation, some may be for business, others may be just on the flight as a connecting flight to get to our next destination. The cabin crew, on the other hand, the primary goal of the cabin crew on the plane is to ensure that the journey is safe and comfortable for all the passengers. If one cabin crew member slip up, then it will reflect bad on the whole cabin crew. Right now, the concept is similar for students doing an individual test. These students are only responsible for their own scores and are not dependent on the other students, as opposed to students doing a group assignment who are dependent on each other to complete the assignment and get a good score. Next slide, please. Let's look at the main differences between groups and teams. Right now, groups are a collection of individuals who come together to fulfill a common task. Right? Teams is a collection of individuals come together to accomplish a common goal. Right? Groups follow a process of accomplishing the task by discussing the task and further delegating the same. Teams follow a process of accomplishing the task by collective effort so that performance is accomplished by each and every person in the team. Groups' focus is on achievement of goals for each individual, and hence, members are not dependent on other members. Teams' focus is on attainment of the goal of the team, and so members are dependent on each other. Next slide. Group develop work product which tends to be individualistic in nature. Teams put together work products which portray the entire team's effort. Group members are more interested in their own task and hence may not know or contribute to the work of another member. Team members have visibility of other members' assignment, which promotes contribution and high quality results. Group members' performance is merely a summation of each group member's individual effort. Teams, however, efforts result in levels of performance greater than the sum of those individual inputs. Group structure. There are many different dimensions to how groups are structured, and each has implications for the leadership dynamics in that group. Three key dimensions that help us understand different types of groups are purpose, structure, and time. Now go back. Now group exists for different purposes. They range from friendship support groups to highly focused task groups, or groups like a staff that deliver a service or a product over time. Now the purpose of the group should lead to the structure and processes needed to help the people in the group accomplish their purpose. Structure relates to the mechanism for how the people in the group relates to each other. Some groups are highly structured with hierarchical roles or positions. Others are undefined and evolved. Leadership roles in groups range from leaderless groups in which a group of people get together to do something, but no one is the formal leader, to high structured groups with a person in a position as a formal leader, for instance, a president, a chairman, or a director. In informal settings, participants' share needs, roles, and leadership, emerges or is all around the group. In the formal structure setting, the positional leader may be accountable, but may use diverse style ranging from high autocratic, making all decisions and directing or controlling the followers, to engaging group members and empowering them through the relational leadership element presented in this chapter. Even in hierarchical organizations, some informal leaders influence the group or decision-making process because of their seniority or past stature in the organization or their personalities. You know, you have that person who's been working in the company for so long that the knowledge of the profession is so vast that even the managers and the leaders go to them for advice. In the service, I can think of a few in the service who have never really attained rank, but the knowledge of they have such a vast knowledge of policing that senior officers go to them for advice. Right? Now, groups exist over varying lengths of time. The group may be time limited or meet for a specific amount of time or extended time. The group may be ongoing, like staff members at work or a family or a fraternity. Time-limited groups are often called task forces or ad hoc committees, whereas ongoing groups use names such as committee, board, or council. The duration of a group raises different challenges. Time-limited groups with a short time frame must quickly establish rapport and common purposes and engage members to be active and focused on their role. Ongoing groups must deal with member motivation over time, establish processes to welcome and bring new members into the group, and keep the group focused on its purpose. Next slide, please. Group development. Teams that work well together don't just happen. They are established by leaders who take specific activities to assist people in forming a team. One crucial element for leaders to remember is that teams go through distinct stages of development. As students, we have all participated in teams to do class assignment, and I'm sure you have noticed that teams change over time. Members must first get to know each other, create rapport, establish some order, divide responsibilities, and clarify tasks. These activities help members become part of a smoothly functioning team. The challenge for leaders is to recognize the stages of development and help team members move through them successfully. According to Tuckman and Johnson, these stages are the forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning stage. I'm sure we all remember these stages from OB. However, next slide, please. However, the relational leadership philosophy goes a bit further. They encourage participants to be, in the forming stage, to be inclusive and empowering, to make sure all shareholders and stakeholders are involved. Seek diverse members to bring talent to the group, model the processes of inclusion and shared leadership, and identify common purposes and targets of change. Next slide. In the forming stage, it encourages participants to create a climate in which each person matters and build commitment to the group as a community of practice. Be ethical and open. Be patient to give divergent views a full hearing. Be aware when you may be where you may be biased or blocking the full participation of another member. Handle conflict directly and openly, encouraging participants to identify their biases. Revisit the purposes of the group and targets of change. Next slide, please. In the norming stage, it encourages participants to be fair with processes, practice collaboration, keep new members welcome, informed, and involved. Clarify the individual's responsibilities and expectations of the group, and the group's responsibilities to and expectations of the individual. In the performance stage, it encourages us to celebrate accomplishments and find renewal in relationships. Empower members to learn new skills and share roles in new ways to stay fresh, and also to revisit purpose and rebuild commitment. In a sense, what the relational leadership philosophy focuses on is ethical behavior, inclusion, and empowerment of group members. Next slide, please. Let's move on to group dynamics. Groups engage in various processes that are often called group dynamics. Group dynamics is the study of the group's life, according to Johnson and Johnson. Group dynamics include such processes as the manner in which the group handles its conflict, the manner in which the group makes its decisions, and the processes as how the group meets its leadership needs. Next slide, please. Group roles here. One of the foundations for understanding group dynamics is to recognize that in any interactive setting, individuals engage in communication patterns that may signal roles they are adopting in the group. Groups depend on two kinds of roles: group building roles and task roles. Next slide. Group building roles, these roles are actions that focus on the group as people, including the relationship amongst members. Group building roles attend to the process of the group and are sometimes referred to as maintenance roles. Task roles focus on accomplishing the purpose of the group, including giving information and opinions and moving the group along tasks by summarizing and by using various decision-making strategies. On occasion, group members may demonstrate some individual functions, individual dysfunctional roles that actually hamper the group's process. Right? These roles are identified as special interest leader. This is someone who doggedly pushes his or her point like a broken record, even if the group is ready to move on. And this person usually has a hidden agenda. Then we have the blocker. The blocker is a member that may resist or block any group action by being negative and disagreeable about everything. So no matter what the group come up with, this person will be negative and disagreeable about it. Right? Then we have the Non-participant. This is someone who don't take part in anything that the group is engaged in. For instance, in a meeting, he would sit to the back of the meeting, like reading our papers on his phone, just not participating in anything. Is there any question at this point? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, these are some common roles in groups, right? So what I'll do, I'll call out the name, and you will tell me if it's a group building role or a task role. The information seeker, right? This is someone who is aware that the group needs more facts or data before proceeding. What do you think? Task or group building? Anyone?
That's more like a task rule.
Very good.
Yeah, task.
Yeah, I was saying task too.
That's correct. What about the opinion seeker? Aware that the group needs more insight, ideas, or opinions before proceeding. Task or group building?
Group building.
Yeah, group.
No, that
Okay.
is also task.
Tasking. Okay.
That's also task, right?
Okay.
Well, the opinion giver, that will be similar to the seeker, so that will be task also. Next slide, please. What about the information seeker? Aware that the group needs more facts or data before, no, this is the same thing. Next slide, please. The summarizer. Condensing the nature of the opinions or discussions in a capsule format for clarity.
That will be a task.
Good, task. All right, let me go over. What about the gatekeeper? Inviting those who have not yet spoken or who have been trying to say something into the conversation.
I will say group. Group building.
Group building, yeah. Correct. Next slide, please. Well, the encourager and the mediator will also be group building roles. Okay. Next slide, please. Group norms. Now, group norms are rules or guidelines that reflect expectation of how group members should act and interact. They define what behaviors are acceptable or not, according to O'Hara and Wyman. Group norms are the informal guidelines of behavior and a code of conduct that provides some order and conformity to group activity and operations. These group norms usually develop gradually and informally as group members learn what behaviors are necessary for the group to function effectively. These group norms may include a code of dress for meetings, or being on time for meetings, and behaving in a predictable manner, both within and outside the group meetings. This predictability of behavior also causes a high degree of cohesiveness within the group. Predictability reduces chaos, ambiguity, and conflict because it enables group members to know what to expect so members can organize their actions and behaviors. For example, by learning the schedules and norms of the group, members can arrive on time, follow the rules, and engage effectively in learning and social interaction. Norms also identify the value of ethics of group members. They are established based on what is right and decent and expected of professionals. For example, some organizations have a rigorous dress code, tolerating no deviations, like the Federal Bureau of Investigation or the FBI. I mean, you'll never see an FBI agent improperly dressed. Right? I always tell the officers under my charge that people perceive you on sight. So if you appear as a shabby looking, if you appear to look shabby looking, they will perceive you as a shabby looking or slack officer. As a professional, you are expected to act professional, and that includes looking professional as well. Let's look at some examples of group norms. Some other examples like being open-minded, treating members with courtesy and respect, avoiding office politics and hidden agendas, taking ownership for mistakes, never throwing anyone under the bus, information sharing, don't be territorial. Actions are for the overall good of the team and the company. Come to meetings fully prepared and encourage participation of members. All of these are other examples of group norms. Next slide, please. When we hear the word conflict, what comes to mind? Anyone?
Disagreement.
Disagreement.
Yes.
As well as disprove, they don't approve of what is presented.
Okay. Next slide. Let's look at the definition. Conflict is defined as a clash between individuals arising out of a difference in thought process, attitudes, understanding, interests, requirements, and even sometimes perception. Now, conflict is a common inevitable part of life. It exists because people don't always get along or agree. The truth is, teams are made up of lots of different people from diverse backgrounds and different values. So whether with a fellow group member or manager, we won't always see eye to eye on everything. However, disagreement can be a key component for progress. It is how we handle conflict that sets us apart as good leaders. Conflict resolution, or the ability to resolve conflicts effectively, is a crucial skill for good leaders to have. Let's look at some advantages and disadvantages of conflict. One, can increase motivation and energy. Now, when you're not afraid to constructively disagree about issues at work, you are likely to be happier to go to the office, be satisfied with what you accomplish, and enjoy interaction with your colleagues. It clarifies issues and positions. Now, conflict allows the team to come to terms with difficult situations, incorporate diverse perspectives, and make sure solutions are well thought out. 3, can build internal cohesiveness. By working through conflict together, you feel closer to the people around you and gain a better understanding of what matters to them and how they prefer to work. Right? Then it can lead to innovation and creativity. Now, as uncomfortable as it may feel when someone challenges your ideas, it is an opportunity to learn. By listening and incorporating feedback, you can gain experience, try new things, and progress. Right? Now, on the flip side, of course, it can be debilitating, can distract from goal achievement, can cause defensiveness and loss of enthusiasm, devotion, and strong regard for the honor of the group, right? And it can cause distortions of reality. When emotions are high and we are determined to prove our point, some of us forget about the other people involved in the conflict because it is so vital to us to be correct and feel validated. There are also individuals who, when confronted with a difficult circumstance, will avoid it entirely in hopes that the problem would resolve itself. Others, on the other hand, will go all out of their way to accommodate the other party, even if it means foregoing their own viewpoint. So what's the best course of action? Next slide, please. According to Thomas Kilmann, conflict mode instrument, the TKI, there are 5 major styles of conflict management: competing, accommodating, avoiding, collaborating, and compromising. Next slide. The Thomas Kilmann's instrument is designed to measure a person's behavior in conflict situations. In such conflict situations, we can describe an individual behavior along 2 dimensions: assertiveness, which is the extent to which the person attempts to satisfy their own concerns, and cooperativeness, the extent to which the person attempts to satisfy the other person's concerns. Next slide. Now, this is the Thomas Kilmann's instrument. As you can see, the 2 dimensions, assertiveness and cooperativeness. Now, competing is assertive and uncooperative. As you can see, it's high on the assertive dimension and very low on the cooperative dimension. This is a power-oriented mode in which one uses whatever power seems appropriate to win their position. Maybe their ability to argue, their rank, or economic sanction. Now, competing means standing up for your rights, defending a position that you believe is correct, or simply winning. Now, accommodating is unassertive, yet highly cooperative. The complete opposite of competing. Someone who adopts this style neglects his concerns to satisfy the concerns of another person. Accommodation might take the forms of selfless generosity or charity, obeying another person's order when you would prefer not to, or yielding to another person's viewpoint. Now, avoiding is low on both dimensions, both assertive and cooperative. The person neither pursues his concerns nor the other individual's concerns. Thus, he does not deal with the conflict. Avoiding might take the form of diplomatically sidestepping an issue, postponing an issue until a better time, or simply withdrawing from a threatening situation. Compromising falls in the middle of both dimensions, as you can see. Right now, compromising is moderate in both assertiveness and cooperativeness. The objective is to find some expedient, mutual acceptable solution that partially satisfies both parties. Compromising gives up more than competing, but less than accommodating. Likewise, it addresses an issue more directly than avoiding, but it does not explore it in as much depth as collaborating. In some situations, compromising might mean splitting the differences between the two positions, exchanging concessions, or seeking a quick middle ground solution. Now, collaborating is both assertive and cooperative. As you can see, it's high on both dimensions. The complete opposite of avoiding. Collaborating involves an attempt to work with others to find some solution that fully satisfies their concerns. It means digging into an issue to pinpoint the underlying needs and wants of the two individuals. Collaborating between two persons might take the form of exploring a disagreement to learn from each other's insights or trying to find a creative solution to an interpersonal problem. Now, if you notice, competing has a win-lose power struggle. Collaborating has a win-win outcome. Next slide, please. Let's look at some conflict resolution outcomes. Win-win. In a win-win outcome, both sides are heard and are satisfied with the resolution of their differences. The group often emerge as stronger for the discussion, and the decisions made may be significantly better than they would have been without the dialogue. Right? So the win-win situation is the one which every group should be going towards in their conflict resolution. There's a win-lose. In win-lose outcome, one side uses power strategies to win by out-talking, putting down, or rushing to a premature vote. But in the process, a loser is created. The participant who lost feels marginalized, angry, and even resentful. The group's harmony is jeopardized, and participants are not empowered or included. Right? You also have a lose-lose situation. In a lose-lose outcome, both sides uses power strategies and get so entrenched, rigid, or hurtful that no effective solution is reached, even in compromise. Now, good working teams resolve conflicts rather than avoid them, which is often the best way. When conflict is confronted, it is usually best to employ negotiation and mediation strategies instead of power strategies. Considering the aforementioned, which style do you think is best to adopt? Anyone? Well, of course, you want to use the win-win situation, right? Now, the reciprocal and relational model of leadership knows that some conflict is natural and inevitable. The relational leadership model encourages process to handle conflict that will promote inclusivity and empowerment. By anticipating when great people get together, there will be they will have different ideas and approaches. The group can establish certain ground rules. This ties back into group norms to govern the openness and honesty with which they raise potential conflict resolution situations. According to Lapp and Dubois, these ground rules can create an environment safe for differences. Such ground rules might include agreeing that everyone who wants to speak will have a chance to be heard, and that the group will look for points of agreement as well as disagreement. Conflicts are useful when they raise perspective that needs attention before the group moves on to resolution. The more diverse a group is, the more important it is to consider a problem from various angles. Even if none of the persons who are physically present hold an opposing view. In this way, choices are at least informed by the broadest possible thinking. Henry Ford once said, "If everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself." And Ken Blanchard also said that none of us is as smart as all of us. I'll now hand you over to my colleague, Mr. Angelito Gonzalez, to take you through the balance of the lecture.
Good day, everyone. I'm going to start off with group decision making. So traditional leadership theories frequently presume that a group or organization has a formal leader who has the power and responsibility to make final decisions. Of course, on many occasions, the position leader has to decide on behalf of the group. This may be due to insufficient time available to organize a group meeting. The leader may be meeting or consulting with group members, or the leader may be representing the group. The group is or maybe the group is at another meeting, right? And someone needs to speak on their behalf. The group or the leader may believe that the decision is minor or not worth the time and effort of the entire group. The relational leadership model will be effective in guiding a positional leader's decision-making process whenever he or she is faced with a situation like this. These are the questions a leader should ask themselves when dealing with situations like that. Does this decision support our vision and mission? What opinions do my group members have about this issue? Will this decision heighten our involvement or limit involvement? Is this the right thing to do? Is it principled? Should I slow down making this decision so that others can get involved? Well, according to Yulk, participative leadership is frequently understood to entail the use of decision procedures intended to enable other people some influence over leaders' decisions in formal organizations with positional leaders. The values of participatory leadership recognize that when all parties concerned are involved in the decision-making process, a better conclusion is made and it is accepted more readily. When others are participating, group members may feel more empowered, gain more effective leadership skills, and maintain a higher level of dedication to the project. Yulk identifies a continuum of 4 possible decision-making procedures. And these are as follows: autocratic, consultation, joint decision, delegation, or participation. They range in the amount of influence others have on the decision-making from no influence to high influence of others in the process, in which complete delegation occurs. Autocratic decisions. This is where a manager makes a decision alone, without asking the opinions or suggestions of other people. And these people have no direct influence on the decision. There is no participation. If we have to look at the consultation, This is where the manager asks other people for their opinions and ideas and then makes the decision alone after seriously considering their suggestions and concerns. Joint decision. The manager would meet, with others to discuss the problem and make a decision together with them. The manager has no more influence in this decision-making procedure. He has no more influence over the final decision than any other participant. Delegation. This is where the manager gives an individual or group the authority and responsibility for making a decision. The manager usually specifies limits, in this case, within which the final choice must fall, and prior approval may or may not be required before the decision can be implemented. Johnson & Johnson described 5 methods of decision making. 1, decision by authority, without discussion, expert member, average member's opinion, decision by authority after discussion, and majority control. Although each style of decision making has its purpose, relational leadership would prefer to use consensus models whenever possible. When there's a trusting group atmosphere, groups may choose other models and feel at ease employing minority or majority control. Reiner provides the following definition of consensus. Consensus does not mean that everyone on the team thinks the best possible decision has been reached. It does mean that no one is professionally violated by the decision and that all team members will support its implementation. Although some decisions are best made by an authority or expert, most groups would benefit from a discussion or consensus model for major choices that affect the entire community. Participants in groups are increasingly expecting to be involved in decision making, and involvement is critical to a relational, empowering approach. Even when they have the power to make those decisions, positional leaders who make crucial decisions in an authoritarian manner tend to alienate workers and group members. I'm sure that a lot of us could associate with this kind of leadership because of the sector of society we serve and the function we carry out. Now, consensus does not imply that the entire group makes every decision, nor does it imply that a majority vote equals reaching consensus. Making decisions is a vital duty for teams, and most want to. They want to obtain the consensus on crucial issues, providing the following definition of consensus. Reiner provided a definition for consensus. And this is the definition we spoke about just now, okay? The consensus does not mean that everyone, we read that already. So Reiner also produced guidelines for reaching consensus within a team. And these are as follows. Clearly define the issue facing the team. That's 1. 2, focus on similarities between positions. 3, ensure that there is adequate time for discussion. 4, avoid conflict, reducing tendencies. So consensus is not always simple to achieve, and it can be time consuming. Procedure that takes, it could be a time consuming procedure that takes far longer than voting or giving feedback and allowing the leader to make the choice. Reina offers the following guidelines for reaching the consensus within the team. And we spoke about them. So consensus encourages the highest level of commitment among participants. It is informed by the group's different knowledge bases and takes the longest. Consensus requires that the group become accustomed to dealing with disputes and be aware of emergent issues that may influence a good decision. Groups that are uncomfortable with disagreements and who do not manage them civilly may vote prematurely to propel the group forward. Consensus needs the group to be willing to adopt methods such as active listening, compromising, and collaborating. Consensus building techniques emphasize encouraging different points of view, listening for understanding, and enabling people to disagree civilly, and the key word here is civilly, with one another. When groups fail to establish a consensus, it's usually due to a lack of time to explore all of the choices and find common ground. Mutual respect and trust among group members are essential components for deciding consensus in any organization. Let us now speak about teamwork. Teamwork is generally understood as the willingness of a group of people to work together to achieve a common aim. For example, we often use the phrase, he is a good team player. This means someone has the interests of the team at heart, working for the good of the team. Teamwork is fundamental for teams to work effectively. Only when the skills and strengths of individual members are joined with shared goals and a focus on collective performance will you start to see the benefits of a team at work. According to Taylor said, we can no longer afford the luxury of even a few individualists working in isolation from the rest of the organization. Strength is not in individuals, but in the team. Put a group of superstars together on any team, whether baseball, hockey, football, or soccer, and they will still lose if they operate as individual superstars. But once they start operating as a team, they become unbeatable. I'm sure the sports enthusiasts in the class right now could relate to this.
Definitely.
So many organizations have adopted that metaphor that we spoke about just now and reconceptualized the work unit as a team. Hospitals have teams for each patient, with a primary care nurse as team coordinator, and businesses have cross-functional teams that bring together staff from shipping, marketing, and manufacturing to do product advancement. Moral motivation support a common goal, a variety of roles, and inclusion are all impacted by this metaphor. So the three common types of teams. There are three common types of teams, and they are as follows: functional, self-directed, and cross-functional. The functional teams tend to resemble hierarchical organizations in which power and authority are contained at the top. Functional teams are composed of organizational members from several vertical levels of the organization hierarchy who perform specific organizational functions. A typical functional team will have several subordinates and a manager who has the authority to manage internal operations and external relationships of a particular department or division of the organization. Accounting, marketing, finance, human resource are examples of functional work teams. Functional team members usually have different responsibilities, but all work to perform the same function of the department. The self-directed team. This is typically a group whose members possess all the technical knowledge and skills to accomplish the task or goal with a certain degree of power delegated to it from a leader or manager. Now, the self-directed team typically manages its workload in addition to having primary responsibility for producing a good and or delivering a service. The team members share both managerial and operational responsibilities, as well as accountability for the team's output. These teams are not right for every business situation. So it is important to understand when an enterprise will benefit. It is important to understand when an enterprise will benefit from this organizational approach. Businesses with decentralized decision-making culture and employees who are empowered to take full responsibility for work are good candidates for self-directed teams. Managers outside the team still play a role, but more as coaches and facilitators rather than supervisors. Self-directed teams are also known as self-managed teams. The Federal Express and 3M are examples of companies that have used the self-directed teams with positive results. There are some advantages of the self-directed teams. They are usually successful. A successful self-directed team is likely to boost a company's efficiency and productivity. When the team members possess the right set of managerial and technical skills for the job, the team may achieve results that would not be seen under a command and control approach. Self-directed teams have the freedom and flexibility to devise innovative solutions to business problems and rapid responses to organizational challenges. Companies may even be able to trim their managerial ranks as the team shows growing levels of independence. Members of this team are empowered with full responsibility and accountability for their work, and they tend to have high levels of commitment and motivation. They take more ownership of their work than employees who must follow orders from managers who sit above them in the chain of command. These team members are also likely to have a high level of job satisfaction, which can mean low absenteeism and turnover for the team. Can anybody tell me what a cross-functional team is? What is a cross-functional team? No one? A cross-functional team is an organizational team consisting of members at the same level of hierarchy in the organization, but serving in different areas. They are usually composed of individuals from various skill sets, departments, or areas that combine skill sets that no one person possesses. For example, a company like, let's say, Apple, they might form a cross-functional team, and this team would consist of a software engineer, marketing, a person for marketing, a sales specialist, a project manager, application designer, and they would come together to invent a new product. All right. The advantages of these kinds of teams are as follows. They provide an organization with some significant advantages. They can greatly increase creativity and problem solving with the use of cross-functional teams because of their composition. Members of cross-functional teams come with a diversity of experience, expertise, and knowledge. This diversity can help broaden perspectives and create synergy, where the interaction of members create a greater effect than the sum of effects of each member acting alone, or leading to a high level of creativity. Cross-functional teams are not without disadvantages. The team can take significantly longer to develop cohesion because members come from different experiences and backgrounds. A team leader must carefully manage the team relationship because there may be a high level of conflict in these teams due to unit rivalry, egos, and possible conflict between the interests of the various parts of the organization represented by the team members. Team goals. Team goals are the objective. Team goals are the objectives and or milestones that a team commits to working toward together. Let's read that. Let me tell you again. Team goals are the objectives or milestones that a team commits to working toward together. The team goals often measure points in a process or develop skills across an organization. Team goals can also help employees feel more invested in the company's objectives since they contribute to developing them. So the same teams must have clear goals to achieve success. Often, teams either do not take the time to formulate goals or set goals that are unclear and unattainable. The SMART rubric provides a framework for teams to use as they establish their goals. We know the rubric, SMART. So specific, S stands for specific. Your SMART goals need to be specific. Otherwise, how would you know what you're working towards? Paul J. Meyer, a founder of the Leadership Management International, dives deeper into SMART goals in his book, Attitude is Everything. He suggests asking yourselves the following questions to determine the specifics of a particular goal. What do you want to accomplish? Who is involved? Where will you accomplish it? When will it happen? What are the particular reasons or benefits behind the goal? And why do you want to achieve it? Okay. M stands for measurable. So as the old adage goes, you can't manage what you can't measure. And to measure, you have to have the metrics. That is quantifiable data points and benchmarks which objectively determine whether or not you're on track to complete your goal. If you aren't sure whether your goal is measurable, try answering these questions. how much or how many? How will you indicate progress? How will you know when you've reached your goal? Once the metrics are established, you will be able to monitor your progress, see what's working, and make any necessary adjustments along the way. Achievable. You don't want your goal to be so far out of reach that you're set up to fail from the start. On the other hand, setting too low a bar can make your goal meaningless, and frankly, it's just not as exciting to hit. You should aim for that sweet spot in the middle, challenging yet still attainable. Some considerations is is the goal realistic with your current resources? If not, what are you missing? Are there any type of constraints? Are there any other limitations that might prevent you from achieving your goal? Do you need to level up any skills or knowledge to be successful? Will you need additional support from your team? Have other people in a similar position achieved this goal before? Now, answering these questions will help you evaluate whether or not your goal is realistic or if it needs to be adjusted. R is for relevant. When it comes to goal setting, you want to make sure everyone is on the same page and working towards the same objectives, rather than interfering with each other's success. That's why it's so important for individual SMART goals to align directly with the broader team or company goals. Some good questions to ask where this is concerned includes, does this goal conflict with any team or company goals? How does this SMART goal support our team's quarterly goals? How does this SMART goal support our company's vision? Is now the right time to focus on this particular SMART goal? Time bound. If you want to be successful with your SMART goals, they need to be bound to a specific date or time frame. This keeps you on schedule and also holds you accountable without a deadline. It could take you 10 years to achieve something you could have otherwise pulled off in 1 month. When determining the right amount of time to allocate to a particular goal, ask yourself, what can you achieve this month, quarter, or year? Is the time frame we've set possible? Can we get this done faster, or do we need more time? Goals are crucial to the success of any organization. The SMART methodology provides a framework for clarifying and recording your goals. More than anything, setting SMART goals is a process that requires you to flesh out the details, determine the important metrics, align with your broader team or company goals, commit yourself to a timeline. The result? You will ultimately set yourself and your team up for the greater chance of success. Team learning. Team learning happens in dialogue with each other and through reflection on shared experiences. The learning unit of organizations are groups of people who need one another to act. This is according to Senge. Senge, Gleaner, Roberts, Ross, and Smith said, dialogue is a sustained collective inquiry into everyday experience and what we take for granted. Patricia Remy said in The Art of Dialogue said, dialogue is focused conversation engaged in intentionally it engages I lost this slide. Sir?
Don't worry, I'm back. Go ahead.
Oh, this slide, something happened there. So dialogue is far more than mere words used to share meaning. It includes the tone of voice, laughter, pauses, difficulty in finding the right words, and the amount of discussion needed to come to some meaning. When a team is in dialogue, participants are aware of the process of their communication as well as its content. For true understanding to result, both teams and groups must establish ground rules or norms to handle their inevitable controversies with civility. Dialogue and discussion are two slightly different processes. Some groups mistakenly engage in discussion in which members share their views with minimal attempts at true understanding. This can lead to debate which only beats down opposing views or leads to a deterioration of relationships that can unravel a group. Groups that value learning together will establish true dialogue methods, the goals of which are to learn together while engaging in change. Dialogue is built into the processes of reflection, which involves thinking together. Dialogue encourages you to clarify your points, not prove them. We encourage you to refer to, you could refer to chapter 5, right, to review how different individuals learn to truly listen to each other. For some, dialogue is a focused and intentional conversation, a space of civility and equality in which those who differ in opinion or ideas may listen and speak together. In dialogue, we seek to set aside fears, preconceptions, and the need to win. We take time to hear the other voices and possibilities. Dialogue can encompass tensions and paradoxes, and in so doing, new ideas and collective wisdom may arise. In productive work community, leaders are not commanders and controllers, bosses or big shots. They are servers and supporters and partners and providers. That's according to Cruz and Posner. So team performance and team development are two critical functions of leadership. The relational leadership model underscores the importance of both these functions with its emphasis on process-oriented team development and purpose. Something went wrong here. So let's speak about leadership. I read this already. Team performance and team development are two critical functions of leadership. Relational leadership model underscores the importance of both these functions with its emphasis on process-oriented team development, and purpose. There are some implications to leadership. According to Ross, leaders in teamwork settings are also facilitators of team learning. Facilitating team learning requires individuals to participate, to understand their motivations, and to advocate their interests while being open. Participants and leaders must all share the responsibility of processing any shared group experience to make it a conscious process as a team. Successes need to be understood as well as failures. Too often, groups do not reflect on why something worked, but would spend hours and hours finding errors and failures. So team development, establishing effective relationships, creating an environment in which individuals feel valued, and facilitating cohesion within the team. The team performance. The team performance has to do with accomplishing the group's goals, making decisions and plans, and achieving results and solving problems. Research conducted on teams show that productivity, innovation, creativity, decision-making, quality, problem-solving, and the use of resources are all increased or enhanced as a result of people working in team structures. Why teams fail is also widely documented. It is often a result of poor leadership, and this is according to Hill. Several researchers and scholars on team leadership have found the following characteristics of team leadership. 1. Clear, elevating goal. The group believes the goal is worthwhile and it is clear enough to tell when the objectives have been met. Results-driven structure. The group's purpose needs to drive the structure of the team. Competent team members. The group members must possess appropriate technical knowledge and interpersonal skills to work collaboratively as a team. Collaborative climate. All individuals contribute collectively to the success of the project, and individual accomplishments are integrated into the whole team's effort. Standards of excellence. Standards of excellence are established and clearly understood by the team, with the emphasis on everyone performing at the highest levels. Principal leadership. The leader establishes priorities and helps the team members to stay focused on the goals, sustains collaborative environments for the team, and manages performance. External support. The team is provided resources such as money, equipment, supplies to accomplish its goals and is given recognition for its successes. Unified commitment. The group has a sense of identity and level of team spirit that has been intentionally facilitated and developed. So based on research and findings from effective teamwork, Hughes and Curfey provide 4 design components needed to establish teams. Task structure. This is where the team understands its task and finds meaning in it. The team is given autonomy to accomplish the task. Group boundaries. The size of the team is just right. Diversity exists within the team, and the team has sufficient knowledge, information, and interpersonal skills to accomplish the goals harmoniously. So while balancing the ongoing activity of the team, the group leaders also face both internal and external demands. Leaders shift between the behaviors of monitoring, taking action, or paying attention to internal and external group issues. Team members can also take on these functions which is typically the case with more experienced and mature groups. In these cases, leaders would do well to step aside and let the team take on those responsibilities and tasks. It is a delicate balancing act of determining which problems to intervene in and which to let the team members resolve as a whole. So norms, as we spoke about this, the team has a set of norms to guide the behaviors of the team members. Authority, there is a flexible rather than rigid use of authority by the leader. The team members that allows for open debate and instill a sense of empowerment and trust, as well as a degree of command when compliance by group members is warranted. So team leaders are tasked with monitoring the group's progress and relationships and taking action when appropriate. Leaders are often called upon to take action when the group is stuck and unable to move forward, or when internal conflict takes place that the team itself cannot resolve. It may require the leader to mediate conflict, assist the group with focusing on its goals, or coach the group on interpersonal skills. In some cases, the leader facilitates an external role for the team by networking with other alliances or sharing information from external sources with the team. It is important to establish a team at the beginning before initiating the work to be accomplished. So we spoke about the 4 conditions of the importance of, at the beginning of the stages of the team development, to allow the team to work effectively and efficiently. And they were task structure, group boundaries, norms, and authority. Now, communities of practice are built on the foundation of groups. We work in a variety of groups, each of which is at a distinct level of development. This chapter covered group development, models, and group dynamics concepts, as well as aspects of decision-making, conflict resolution, and team learning that are relevant to group activities. It's crucial to understand the distinction between groups and teams, as well as the deliberate process of transforming work group into effective and efficient teams. At this time, I would like to ask anyone if they have any questions.
Okay, if there are no questions.
If there are no questions, I want to thank you all for allowing us to present today. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Jesus.